And then to piggyback off of that part one of that other video where I was talking about refusing to lower my quality, it kind of ties into like what you said here about working on like self-worth and things like that. It's not that I don't love myself. It's not that I don't think it's worthy. It's a cultural shift. And fighting or rebelling or whatever it is, whatever insert whatever phrase fits. The cultural shift. I am exhausted of having to have this boundary. Like this boundary I feel like should just be understood. And so it's like, well, ignore it. And I understand what you're talking about, like with what you're talking about, but things are more complex than that. That is a simple expression of it. So within what I mentioned with like the Leo moon shadow work, my whole life I've just been constantly this uphill battle of not having to dim myself, of not having to people please, of not having to do this or to do that. So I'm constantly trying to find a way to honor myself while simultaneously meeting the world with where it's at, because as an Aquarius, we want to attach more astrology into it. I'm an innovator. I am ahead of my time. And so it's trying to get people to catch the fuck up to what it is that I'm saying. And that can be difficult because it's not just my Aquarius energy. I talk about traditionalism in a sense. I have Aquarius stellium and a Cap stellium. I am a 6 Saturn placement person, so it's Saturnian energy, and it's the discipline of quality and care and all of the Saturnian lessons of what I represent. So you were right in another comment. You're like, oh, you're probably triggering their shadow. Absolutely. A Leo moon would be spotlighting. It would be being the light in the shadow. It's the sun in the void of darkness, right? That is significant Leo moon energy and symbolism on top of the Aquarian innovation, while honoring Capricorn, which is tradition that works, okay? So if we can learn anything from ancient civilizations, it is creating products for people to consume and enjoy, whether it's art or more functional based things like utensils or other tools. Is making sure that you're creating from a place that is sustainable for the environment. And that is where like wood and stone and other glass, other materials were more utilized, more natural materials. And plastic, argumentatively, is not necessarily a natural material. Technically, it is. If like, because it came from oil, which came from the ground, and that's like it's a whole other fucking weird argument of things. But it's obviously becoming harmful. And sometimes, was it intentionally like used to be harmful, or is this just like a learning lesson? We wanted something that was easier. There is a benefit to mass production. There is a benefit to this industrialization of the modern world. However, we need to fine tune it into a way, the balance of scale, right? We need to fine tune it into a way that is sustainable to the earth and innovative. So that would be the dualism and complexity of Aquarius and Capricorn in Saturn. And that's, what Uranus, I would say, is pulling on Aquarius to kind of, I guess, rattle the cage of Capricorn, who can get too stuck in their ways, right? So that's more spiritual evolution or evolutionary astrology insights and stuff like that. So I am leading, and leadership is lonely, and it's constantly met with these kinds of comments, which is something that I've been really working on and not getting distracted by them, because I am someone who is constantly trying to evolve. I'm constantly trying to better myself. So I genuinely take, despite what the internet thinks, I genuinely do take criticism and feedback to heart, because I don't want to be imperfect. I have a huge perfectionist wound and claws in my being. And so it's learning to embrace being imperfect, and that everything is a learning process, which is why, you know, I mentioned, like, I'm not saying that my products are perfect, but I do the best I can. I hold the highest standard I can possibly maintain. And sometimes it gets frustrating with, in order to hold a high standard, then you're going against the grain in this modern mass-produced world where you have people who get 10-cent mason jars and a huge wax melter, and it's uniform across the board. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, okay? If that is your vibe and that is what you want to do and that's what's sustainable for you, awesome. I can't do that. I can't do that. I love individualism. I love creating unique individual pieces. And so that's where it's not, I'm not a candle business. I am doing candle art. I am making word art with my books, my stories, their art themselves, not just the poetry and the wordplay and the symbolism that goes within it, but how I design the books. And again, there's so much love in what I do. And for me, what hurts is that there's a lot of guilt to make something so beautiful that it has to be so expensive, and then people are mad that they don't have access to the beauty when they can. They just have to figure out their own discipline, but then it becomes a projection or an attack again. Like, you have to dim your light, you don't create something as beautiful, don't do too much. It's just constantly reminding not to be too much. And so it's like, well, is that a genuine critique? Sometimes it is. Sometimes I don't need to be so much. Other people don't need to be so much. Like, there is a time and place for everything, which again is where I have digital copies of my books that people can individually purchase. You can subscribe to my blog and get access to all of them digitally, but people want a physical book. Well, for me to self-publish, for me to print low power mode. For me to print a copy of my book, this is what it costs for me to do so on an individual basis. And if you respected the craft, if you respected my light, if you respected my energy, you would not be asking me to dim myself. And so it's not that I don't love myself. It's not that I don't have self-worth. It's wondering what the disconnect between my inner world and my outer world is, which is ultimately I feel like the Aquarian curse sometimes. It's because you're ahead of your time and you're guiding people into a new state of innovation, which is kind of funny that we're going back to some states of traditionalism and rejecting the modern world, because the modern world, well, it's a death that's coming, which may not be bad, but it's also what we have to understand. Do we want this like new technological world, or do we want to sustain the earth in this the nature that's around us? Do we want to be a world of machines? I don't think people do. So I think that there needs to be more balance. I think this is a sign of off balance. And when you are having to balance a scale, you're going to be resistant. And it's just like, man, I'm on this side. So the scales are tipped, right? And I'm trying to balance this side of the scale, or this, however it fucking mirrors. I'm working really hard to try to balance the side of the scale. And it would just be really fucking nice if people could get on board. It would be really nice if I wasn't hanging out here by myself. It would be really nice if people would quit fucking trying to convince me to go to the tilted side of the scale. Because I'm not fucking gonna go. I'm gonna sit here, and you shaming me into doing it, not you specifically, just the world, like these feelings that I'm having, this shame, which is what I'm healing, because this is shame that comes from my childhood that I've had to rebel against my whole life. So there is like paradigm shifts happening. But my question, my healing message is, what is it going to take? When will it finally be good enough? And why is it okay for other people to do it? And why is it so resistance for me to do it? And those are questions that no one really has the answer to. It's just sometimes this is just the story. It's all for the plot. And I'm trying to embrace it, but that doesn't mean that there aren't real human emotions that come from it. So that's where it's at. Just because I'm having human feelings doesn't mean that I need to do even more self-work for my reality. Sometimes it's just patience.